If you tend to put off getting things done at work or at home and then feel guilty or anxious about it, you're probably just a procrastinator. Rita Emmett is author of the Procrastinator's Handbook and says you can master the art of seizing the moment and getting started. Rita, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Katie.
I know that
Happy to be here.
I know you described yourself as a recovering procrastinator. You decided you couldn't put off writing this book any longer. Why do you think people procrastinate? And aren't most people guilty of this?
I think a lot of people do put things off. Many people say they're not procrastinators, though. And when I first started, I was teaching time management sessions. I do seminars and keynotes all over the country. And when I was doing time management about 20 years ago, people would say, this doesn't work for me. And I realized that procrastinators need something different than time management. And so as I started developing these procrastination things, people would say to me, I don't think I could change. This is a character flaw. It's a personality trait I was born with. And it's not. It's a habit. And we can change a habit.
You can't break it. But, you know, you've got to be motivated to break a habit. I've been procrastinating my entire life. My dad laughs about the fact that I used to do my homework in front of the front door in the morning before I got picked up by a bus. I still procrastinate in everything I do. But it's okay. I mean, I still get by. So why would you be motivated to change? You
know, some people pay a tremendous price for procrastinating. Apparently, you haven't had to pay a price, and so it's not really a problem. And for some people, it's not a problem. The book is for people that have had problems. The price we pay isn't always just financial. You know, if you don't balance your checkbook and your check bounce, then they charge you a lot. But we pay a price on a lot of other levels. You know, if there's chaos and clutter all over a table, all over your workplace. There's chaos internally in our minds and hearts. A lot of people pay a price regarding relationships. You know, they've just never put the time aside for the person they care about, their children, or they've had this image of this 5-year-old. They're going to take the 5-year-old to the zoo, and they blink their eyes, and the 5-year-old's 17 and doesn't want to go with them.
Are procrastinators messy in general? I'm just curious.
I think a lot of them are really into clutter and really into being pack rats, yes.
What other sort of personality traits have you found in the procrastinators you've encountered?
Well, sometimes, not all procrastinators are into clutter. What other personality traits? Well, usually they're people who kind of look sheepishly around and say, I just don't seem to have control over this. And there are ways to stop procrastinating. What other personality traits? Sometimes they're always late.
Yeah.
Not every procrastinator is late.
They can be socializers, right, where they spend time talking to their coworkers instead of getting things done.
Yes.
They can be drifters. What do you mean by drifters?
By drifters, have you ever had a morning where it's gone and you don't know where it went? You just drifted. You weren't like a ship without a rudder. You were like a ship without a destination. Or socializers, where somebody really has an important thing to do now and they say, I'm going to call that friend I haven't talked to in 12 years.
Let's talk about the reasons people procrastinate, if we could, for a moment, Rita. One is, hey, I work best under pressure. Okay, that's my excuse.
That's you, yes. Okay, and some people really do work best under pressure. If by that, and this sounds like you, Katie, that when the deadline comes up, you get into the zone, the adrenaline's pumping, and you bring it in, and it's a great job.
And then I can focus. If I have like a few days to write a speech, I just cannot. That's why I write it in the catering office of the hotel before I give the speech. You know, it's just hard for me to concentrate on it. Maybe I have ADD too.
Well, that's a whole issue,
yeah, we'll
Katie.
deal with
I
that
agree.
Tomorrow. So, okay,
but other people, though, who say they work best under pressure, when the deadline comes, all they mean is they can't get themselves going till the deadline's there. And as they go into it, they fall apart, they get sick, they make their coworkers crazy, they make their family crazy, and that's not working best.
Other people say they're doing it because they're avoiding fears, or is that what you say? I mean, what does that mean?
Well, a lot of times we're putting things off because we're afraid of making a mistake, afraid of failure, afraid of rejection. Even afraid of success. If you've ever set a goal and you've sabotaged the goal, or you feel that you're shooting yourself in the foot, it might be fear of success.
Another reason, which I didn't mention, our first reason, people feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's very common. And it's because, I asked you, what do you put off before the show, and you said everything. People say, I am putting off everything, I'm putting off a million things, I can't do it all. And so I recommend that they pick one thing to do, get a kitchen timer, set it for an hour, and focus on one thing. No breaks. Don't do a million other things.
So multitasking can be a real bad thing, I think, for procrastinators sometimes.
If at the end of the day you've started 15 things and you haven't finished any of them, then you're not really good at multitasking.
And other people do it they're dreading unpleasant tasks.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people just don't want to do things. There's something they hate to do, they don't want to do it. I recommend that they get a system of reward, that instead of doing one job you hate and then going straight to the next job you hate, that you say, when I finish this crummy job, I'll reward myself.
So what other things can people do, Rita, to break the habit? I mean, there are all sorts of explanations. There are also explanations. There are different personality traits that procrastinators have. But what other advice can you give us this morning to motivate us to change?
Well, besides rewards, and I have to say that rewards is an important one, but a lot of people know what makes everybody else happy and they don't know what kind of a reward would be great for themselves. Besides rewards, I think that back timing, a lot of times when somebody puts something off and then they miss the deadline, that we need to look at the deadline and say, okay, if this has to be done by this time, then I need to start here. Sometimes somebody needs to get someplace at 7 and they start getting ready at 6:45 and it takes them 45 minutes to get there. They can't do it on time.
I do that too.
Yeah.
So just be more realistic.
Well,
and for some reason, I think procrastinators get a charge out of doing things and having to do it quickly. But the long-term effects probably aren't so great because it does create a lot of anxiety.
A lot of times what they'll do, though, is they'll say, I would have done a better job if I didn't catch a train on the way there, or if I didn't get a stomach flu or something. And it's an excuse then.
Right.
We have a lot of excuses.
Well, Rita Emmett, the book is called The Procrastinator's Handbook, Mastering the Art of Doing It Now. Obviously, I need to read this. Thank you so much for coming by this morning. Great to meet you. If you'd like to read an excerpt from Rita's book, you can log on to our website at today.msnbc.com. Up next, Jennifer Lopez cleans up at the box office. But first, these messages.